to the LEC, and just a little reminder, if you've only just joined us, BDS just beat Fnatic, which means I now get to speak to Labrov. Hello, Labrov. First of all, congratulations on the win. How are things over in Team BDS?
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, things are going pretty well, I would say. We started playing better in the spring split than in the winter, and yeah, I'm happy with our performances so far, and I'm looking forward for the future.
Yeah, your performances so far have been fantastic. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much, don't worry, but I do want to refer to the Adam incident last week, in the sense that he mentioned that the reason it went wrong was because the TP was cancelled, and that hadn't happened in practice. So have you had a discussion around the protocols for when things happen on stage that you weren't expecting to I guess, experience? How do you prevent those mistakes happening in future?
Well, hopefully, if we do the same sound strat in the future, I really hope sound TP won't get cancelled. But yeah, I think, as Adam said last week, we didn't have that situation in scrims, and but I'm happy that no one really panicked, and we just kept playing the game, and we adapted pretty decent, I would say. With how the situation was on top lane.
But has it made you think more about backup plans?
Not really, I would say. We just for future, for if there's a similar situation, we'll probably just adapt on the spot.
Because you did have quite a risky pick, I would say, for yourself today. The Blitzcrank, it's a high-risk, high-reward champion. Nautilus was open in the draft. You could have gone for that. But instead, you did go for the Jinx Blitzcrank bot. Talk me through those picks.
Yeah. Well, enemy team first picked Caitlyn. And then our answer to Caitlyn was like Jinx, since Crowny is really good on Jinx. And then I was expecting enemies to go for Heimerdinger as support, blind pick, which is like kind of safe, so you can't really get run over by a Blitzcrank pink or a Nautilus or something like this. So I was really surprised when I saw the looks 2-3, and I really knew I wanted to play Blitz at that moment, and yeah, I'm happy it ended up this way.
Would you have picked a Blitz, say, against your former team Vitality?
Yeah, if in a similar way, yeah, why not?
Why not, indeed. Before I let you go, where would you rate the bot lane in comparison to other bot laners in the LEC at the moment?
I would say Vitality and G2 bot lanes are the best, and would probably be around third and fourth. Everyone else is kind of close outside on the top two teams, which is Vitality and G2, in my opinion.
I like this. This is very humble. You're thinking about it. I imagine if I asked the same thing to Crown, he would have said #1, and I respect both kinds of answers. Right now, though, we're going to have two teams trying to find the answers into each other, so we've got some very tough and hardened bot laners coming up as we head into Vitality versus SK. But before we do, we've got to head back to the desk.
Absolutely. What a great setup. A bit of a marquee matchup of the day between Vitality and SK. And as you rightly called out, the bot lanes are going to be incredibly important. Let's pull up the standings to see what we got cooking. 3-0. Both of them. You can't have a better start. You literally cannot. And I think, okay, I'm going to say, even though Vitality was obviously anticipated to be good, I think that they were this good, like the 3-0 doesn't tell the full story, was impressive to a lot of people. And I think SK, continuing on a trend that they showed us in winter, also took me off guard.
Yeah, SK came out of the gun, out of the gates running here. Because remember, I think came out of the gun. What am I thinking? No, because compared to last winter, right? It was a little bit slow starting in week 1, but they have looked so solid, so consistent, I think, throughout, even though, you know, they couldn't make it all the way in the VO3s, finishing in 4th place and just continuing to ride the momentum into the spring split. It has been fantastic to see from them.
Yeah, and as for Vitality, obviously everyone knew Upset would play good, but that would be this fast and this explosive is definitely not expected, so that's also really hype to see.
And I'm going to challenge us to talk about Vitality and SK in a different way than we usually do, because we love to talk about, you know, the upsets of this world and Bo and whatnot. But let's start
they're pretty good. So I said they're pretty good.
They're pretty damn good indeed. But let's talk about the top lane as well. And I think maybe that note goes specifically for Irrelevant in SK's top lane, who also hasn't done that many interviews. I believe it's not his favorite thing to do in the world, so we don't hear from him as much. But, you know, he's playing unbelievably well.
Yes, Irrelevant has been a beast. In Winter in the BO1s, he led the league for top laners in terms of solo kills. He has, like, quietly been so consistently good on the top side of the map, while no one has really been talking about him. Time and time again, he is performing, whether it is on stronger lane champions or scaling later into the game and team fighting along the team. This guy's showed a lot of variety in his playstyle.
Yeah, he has a lot of diversity, and he's also just solid in everything he plays, right? You will never see him be down a lot of CS or kind of out of the game. He's always a factor in the game, and I think that's the consistency that SK needs from their top side.
And meanwhile, Photon, I think, has been a player that has really reinvigorated the league. He's played a lot of the carries towards the top side, and I can very confidently say, like, well, it was incredibly strong in lane, but just the best, like, carry team fighting top laner, you know? Like, it's hard to team fight when you're playing more carry champions, but he would always find an angle, especially like on the Jax early in Winter, to re-engage a fight, find a kill seemingly out of nowhere.
And I know it's been a continuing conversation in the LEC for, I think, a couple of years, but called out by Odawamne also at the beginning of the year about how we don't pay that much attention to top lane, and the carry top laners are not really a thing all that often, and then we get checked when we get to the international stage. Do they have different styles Irrelevant than Photon, and how much is Photon leveling up the league in that regard?
Yeah, Photon has definitely brought a lot of lane aggression to the league, which I think also just levels up everyone around him as well, right? And obviously Irrelevant is no slouch in lane either. He has a lot of good stats to show for it as well. But yeah, obviously Photon is the premier top laner in terms of carry picks that we have in the EU right now.
I think they also spend like so much time pushing in lane. I'm pretty sure it's Photon with #1 forward proximity for top laners, Irrelevant there in #2, so spending a lot of time on the front foot, putting pressure on the enemy tower.
That's a great note. We have a forward percentage stat to see just how aggressive Vitality and the laners are in general. And when you look at it, their counterparts at SK, it's not the same tale. And I'm not saying that their early games sometimes aren't aggressive, but because they are, but it isn't in the same way.
Yeah, you could kind of say that Vitality is the aggressor and SK is the defender in that sense. That doesn't mean that SK doesn't do plays by themselves, but they're kind of just also the team that can absorb the pressure and then counteract with a good punch themselves, while Vitality have kind of just going like forward, and just look for plays all the time. So
I swear we had a graphic.
At some point we did, yeah.
Maybe. Who can know? Honestly, we just want to talk more about the top laners.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think that's a super valid point. Like, Vitality are a team that's very much like driven with like a lot of pushing lanes, aggression, looking to set up dives and whatnot. But I also don't think like SK aren't like super pigeonholed into one style. I think that is their biggest strength, is that they don't hold weaknesses on the opposite side. But you take that game last week with Markoon on the Lee Sin, when they're finding ways to punish and dive under towers as well, they will find windows in which they can take the offensive in the early game, which is really nice to see the back and forth.
Yeah, it's almost like Vitality is like a skill check. They're like, we'll just do it regardless. And maybe SK is waiting on what the situation is. We see that in the top lane, actually, it's blow for blow.
Yeah, and in general, you can just see Vitality have really high forward percentages basically everywhere. It's kind of the thing where if everyone's pushing, you can punish one side, but then the other side will keep pushing. So it feels like maybe if you shut down bots, top will still have a high impact, and that's what makes them really scary as well.
It's interesting to see like the stark disparity, like 2nd in the league for top lane forward percentage, 9th in the lead for bot lane, right? But it makes sense, right? You can't, or usually it's very difficult to play when you have like all of your lanes trying to push, because the jungler's like running all around, like how do I protect all of these lanes? Enemy jungler just has to show up and find a kill.
It's crazy, actually, the bot lane in general.
It's absolutely nuts, but it shows you like how good Vitality are to be 3-0 playing like that. That's absolutely nuts. But at the same time, like SK, it shows that you can play a little bit more lopsided, more focused on the top side in the early game, with your bot lane playing a little safer under tower.
So the value of Markoon goes up, I guess, even more, right? If you look at this and if you look at the anticipated clash of styles in terms of how they like to play forward.
100%. And especially when it comes to like him making proactive plays. If you look around mid and bot lane, you're going to see a lot more fights in lane punishing the over-aggression of the enemy laners than it will be setting up for dives.
Yeah, and if your team is kind of playing passive in lane and kind of drawing a lot of attention, that's obviously where Markoon can strike, right? If he can be counter-ganking Bo and kind of showing up at the correct time, then I think SK has a lot of positive things going for them in this matchup.
They do. It was quite analytical, but I think we're also super excited just in general from a fan perspective for this matchup, and we've got a great duo of casters. Vedi, take it away.
They're
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I'm just looking for the great duo of casters. Have you seen them around anywhere, Vedi?
Yeah. Looking at him right there. There he is.
Oh, yeah, there he
right
is.
here.
That's
Look
true.
at that. Vedius. Love that guy.
Yeah, so do I.
Love that guy.
He still left me.
What? Why is this intro weird, Medic? Be energetic, be
mean,
funny.
this-
Be like, hi everyone, welcome to LEC. It's Many,
So
Woo!
loud.
We're so happy to
I
be
need
here.
to
It's so
turn you down.
loud. Don't turn me
I have
down.
Quickshot's headset settings, so everything is just really loud. I'm pretty sure the age is getting to him. Anyway, let's get into the action. Vitality versus SK. Up next. So here we are, fourth game of the day. We are over a third of the way through the regular season. Both these teams 3-0, Betty. No losses last week, and today one of them will be delivered their first of the Spring Split.
It's a battle of KDAs, Medic.
That it is.
Across the board, many players in this game have been able to allure Death's evil stroke.
It's actually crazy. You look at it, like Irrelevant 17.5 KDA, Markoon 39, Perkz 35, and Bo and Upset still yet to die.
Yep. It's a battle of the KDAs. So we shall keep track and make fun of all the players as they will inevitably die in what I expect to be very much of a bloodbath. You can see smiles across the faces of the players as both are ready to get into week 2. Let's have a look at the bans so far. Stock standards, Sejuani Lee Sin actually be taken away from Markoon. That explains the laughing. A bit of respect being shown after Markoon's incredible performance on the champion last week, with Caitlyn and Zai quick to follow up from the side of SK, showcasing that respect towards Upset.
And there's the Draven taken away as well. I wonder if we will see Zeri for Exakick. He went 7-1 on that in winter, and still a very strong champion if you can get your hands on it. There's the Annie ban from SK. Vitality seems like they're looking towards their jungler to start things off. So far, Gragas and the Sejuani for Bo, and now he's going to add Vi to that list.
Do you remember Bo's Vi from last split?
I do.
Yeah. Do you remember how many deaths he got on
Yeah,
that?
but I remember him doing a lot of stuff as well.
Of course. Only a bit of banter here as Bo, still an incredible jungler, has had a fantastic start to the split. I think one of the big things that we have seen with the introduction of Upset is a bit of the pressure's been taken off him, you know? A lot of the spotlight was on him and his carry performance, but so far he's been able to shine alongside his superstar AD carry. Speaking of, Exakick, not the strongest start to the split overall. He has been focused a little bit, not quite the same level of performance we've seen from him compared to Winter, but on the Zeri, we'll see how he pairs up against Upset, rookie versus veteran down in the bot lane.
Yeah, as I said, he had an incredible series, or incredible split on the Zeri in winter. We'll see if he can continue that form in spring. I almost said summer. Just fast forwarding past MSI, I'm sure a lot of European fans might want to forget it after it's happened, but we'll see how well we do. Still a little bit of time before we get there, of course. And both these teams are vying to be our second team at that international tournament. Wukong locked in for SK, Lucian, Nami immediately for Vitality. Not a bot lane that in Europe has done too well. Often ends up sleeping with the fishes rather than cooking up their opposition, but Upset and Kaiser, a duo that perhaps we want to see on it.
This was the Upset special last year at Worlds.
Yep.
It was something that Fnatic often had to default to be able to find success, and this is a bot lane that for SK is very comfortable at being able to neutralize this lane from their perspective, but we'll see how they handle the pressure of Upset, because you saw that forward percentage on the Analyst test before. He spends just short of half of his time on the other side of the lane, constantly getting in the face of his opponent bot lane and looking to trade and build advantages in the isolated 2 versus 2. The Aurelion Soul taken away from Perkz. I think the champion slowly being figured out here in Europe. Still not the same level of priority that we've seen elsewhere in the rest of the world.
I just like the way you say it's being figured out in the sense that it's banned. Like, we have figured out that this dragon shouldn't be in our game.
I was talking about the priority, Medic.
Just gonna ban that one. Make sure it doesn't get involved at all. I agree. Lissandra's been figured out as well. But yeah, the Aurelion Soul in Perkz' hands last week was a terror. Truly living up to that Cosmic Dragon fantasy.
Lissandra does suggest to me they might be thinking about something like an Ahri, maybe a LeBlanc for Sertuss. thinking about blind picks. I do think that they want to give that counter pick over to Irrelevant, so I wonder if something like an Ahri Wukong is something that Sertuss could be looking at. The Malphite and the Scion being taken away from Irrelevant could suggest that they don't want to allow Irrelevant to have one of those safe blind pickable top laners. We know how competent he is on things like the Scion. Let's see what direction SK decide to go with. Will they decide to lock in mid, or will it be the top side of the map? Still hovering over the Kaiser, discussions going on.
If you are going to go topside, Gnar for Irrelevant makes the most sense, right? Give him something that's safe in that top lane that can do a lot of work. But there's the Ahri that you were talking about, Betty. Caught it when you saw that Lissandra ban. Sertuss going to pilot that one for the first time this split. And now Vitality have to answer mid and top.
So, what will they blind pick for Photon? Now, if they want to be bot side focused, they want to pick something relatively safe, but maybe Jace could be a good blind pick top option based on what has been banned away. Of course, there are still good answers to it, but it depends on how much they want to invest towards the top side of the map. The Cassio for Vitality does give them a little bit more team fight power. You look at the sheer amount of mobility on the side of SK, and the grounding effect from her W is, of course, incredibly impactful in those fights. The scaling element is something that Vitality want in the late game as well, which is going to be very valuable indeed. How can we forget, though, the Jack, something that was very prominent for many of our top teams last split, going to continue to do so, even after the small nerfs. Still a relatively safe blind, and the Malphite ban now making a little bit more sense. But why would you go anything other than all reliable here for Irrelevant? You called it earlier, Medic, something that he's brought out to great success already this split.
And Gnar looks to be the way of the world for Irrelevant in that top lane. We'll keep our eyes up there. Both these top laners having very strong performances so far this winter. Irrelevant more in team fights, more about how he coordinates with the other 4 players on SK, and Photon just so dominant in the 1v1 up towards that top lane. I will say Vitality had a relatively easy run last week. XL, Fnatic, and Mad Lions, who were sick and not playing to their full potential. I think SK are probably their first major challenge of spring. We have seen Vitality overcome SK in the past, though. Let's see if they can do it again here today. Talk to me about these drafts, Vedi. Talk to me about what you think these teams want to do on the Rift.
Well, I think that I would say that both of them are non-conventional in the sense that we don't have a very easy to execute front-to-back composition. I think that you have a lot of options when it comes to the mid-jungles in particular. You look at Vi Cassio, and the moment that that Vi ultimate comes through, the Miasma follow-up immediately means that that mid laner is locked down and is going to be hard-pressed to escape. That Chain CC single-target lockdown is going to be incredibly valuable later on into the game. I do think Vitality also have really good side lane threats, so they can look to try and play more of a 1-3-1 style or even 1-4 if they want to. But just because you have things like the Zeri with her kite ability and her range, paired up with the pick potential of an Ahri with a Wukong, I do think the team fight advantage, especially if Irrelevant can find the same impact he was finding last week on the Gnar, is something that Vitality need to be cautious of. But this early game, I think these junglers are going to look to get action heavy on the map as we jump onto the Rift for our 4th game of the day.
And here we go. Both the teams are running down towards this bottom lane. Bot lane prior so important, especially when you're playing something like a Lucian Nami. Now, Upset is going to show SK are not doing so. The sweeper comes out, the charm onto Bow, and Bow! Oh, he was unkilled until now! And SK immediately stopped that streak. Markoon answered in response. Jungle for jungle. Exakick has to flash away. Upset trying to do the damage, and he will just force SK away. 1-for-1 in the bottom lane.
The real loser here, though, is Markoon, because his KDA just took a massive hit.
So did Bose. He hadn't died till now.
But now he's at 1. Okay,
That's
he went
true,
from
actually,
infinite to a really large number that I don't know the exact number of. But let's have a look back at this and see exactly what happened. The sweeper that comes out from SK gives them information, and it is Bo that ends up face-checking, takes a face to the charm, and it's a quick execution from the side of SK. The flash gets committed from Markoon, and immediately the rest of Vitality turn onto him. Photon starting with the E means that he can lock him down. Note, though, that one kill went over to Exakick, whereas the other kill went over to Kaiser. Not the optimal start for Vitality, but a lot of summoners were in fact burnt from this bot lane. Look, Ignite gone for DOS, Flash and Heal both gone for Exakick. The Flash gone for Markoon, only in exchange for Bo's Flash. This won't be the most dramatic change in terms of the early game, but a small advantage gain for Exakick. We'll see if he can leverage this in the bot lane 2v2.
Yeah, we'll have a watch. Vedi, I didn't I was going to ask you a question. You know, sometimes people will tweet at you and be like, hey, what do you do during the rest of the week, right? Like, you just cast on the weekend. You don't really do too much on the rest of the week. Well, usually we prepare things, right?
Yeah.
We build up this really good idea of asking people in the audience and at home who is going to die first, because Bo and Upset Unkilled, we even prepared a whole graphic for it, where we had this whole idea.
Yeah.
And Vitality and SK have just thrown this all out of the window.
Yeah, they
all
kinda
my
have.
work, it took me 3 hours to make that graphic, Vedi.
You made that graphic?
No.
No?
It was funny if I had to. That's a lot of work I put into that.
Yeah, that's a shame. Bo did ruin that for you. But hey, now we get to play the game of when will Upset die,
True.
or will he die?
Will he die?
So far, 3 games out of 3 yet to die. We'll see if SK can deliver onto him his first death. The Lucian army, something that he was very prevalent on when he was on Fnatic last year, and I expect him to do so once again in this game. But Exakick and DOS with that push, this was something that they actually in winter brought out a lot as an answer to this, because let's not forget, even last split, Lucian army was still the go-to bot lane. It was incredibly powerful. It's only really in this split where we've seen the priority increase on things like the Xayah in particular, and things like Aphelios and Jinx returning as a result of the Thresh also rising to prominence too. So normally the Lucian Nami is not quite the safe blind pick. But Markoon now looking for great timing on the ward. Does get pinged out by Markoon, but they might commit to this anyway as Bo is on the top side of the map.
Upset and Kaiser have all of their summoners here, though. This is going to be a bit of a difficult dive. Cleanse coming out, the Ignite ticking away. DOS splashing away. Upset on the chase. Upset will get one. Markoon should be able to answer with one in response. Hits him with the Decimating Smash, and there's another Exakick, and Markoon now needs to get away because Perkz has TP'd in. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Bo able to kill off Irrelevant. Exakick trying to trade onto Perkz, but just can't do it. Across the map, 2 kills. 3 kills, in fact, for Vitality, and only 1 in response for SK.
SK, you delivered Upset's first death of Spring, but at what cost? As Vitality respond so well. The fact that Perkz is able to TP down and punish the dive from SK, the fact that they're able to also make the cross map happen, just beautiful stuff from the side of Vitality. So you can see a very early heal. Upset recognizes that DOS draws tower aggro and just flashes on top of him, looking to try and get the trade. Markoon then takes the next tower shot, and even though Upset loses his life, the TP in from the Cassio is enough to be able to secure that kill. Then it is Photon securing the tower aggro. He uses the E to follow up, secure that stun, and then Kaiser cuts off the escape of Exakick to allow Perkz to secure that kill. So overall advantage is gained, and already Vitality find themselves with an 800 gold lead.
That top lane dive was all about who blinks first. You could see Irrelevant was trying to hold on to his E to get away, but Photon kept the leap strike, and Bo kept the Vault Breaker, that Q, to make sure they could follow it up. And as you say, across the map, wins for Vitality. Exakick, though, is 1-1-1 now on this Zeri. Has the Noon Quiver already complete. Went 7-1 with 30% of his team's damage in winter on this champion. And we'll see if Vitality are able to deliver him his 2nd loss of the year. Markoon once again spotted the vision control from Vitality. It's been exceptional. They've known exactly where Markoon is. And because of that, Bo's going to start up this Drake.
Yeah, Bo has been able to secure both crabs and just great vision investment overall all across the map. You can see that ward the Medic was just highlighting. And then the ward investment down towards the bot side of the map. Knowing where the enemy jungler is, they can easily cross-map this and exchange for the Drake. And just great awareness from Bo. And a great early game for Vitality. Vitality have just been dominant so far this split, Medic. When we kind of look at some of their early game performances and just overall dominance that we've seen from Vitality, you did have some questions in terms of, is this really what Vitality looks like right now? You know, 100% of First Bloods, 100% of First Towers, and they average at 14 a 3.8k gold lead. Like, this team has just dominated from start to finish, and we thought that coming into this week, we'd see if they could maintain this level of performance. But while they did lose that First Blood, of course, still First Tower to be able to secure, they're already on track to building that massive gold advantage. Let's see if SK can slow them down.
And I think the important thing is, we don't doubt the fact that Vitality are good. It was just where do they rank against the better teams in the league.
I think it's really important when you look at Vitality's very long history. They've had super teams before. We've even seen them have weeks where they look very promising, but then they haven't been able to maintain. Even last split, finishing first at the end of the regular season, not even being able to make it to the top 4 and losing to SK in the best of 3. So this is a team that you always have to be cautiously optimistic about. And so far, they've looked great with the addition of Upset, but it's all about maintaining that consistency. And you know that that perception won't change until they're really rivaling those top teams. So right now, that is SK. And right now, Vitality is looking good.
And they've got the weekend to do it as well. G2 tomorrow as well. If Vitality can go undefeated through the end of Sunday, I think most people will say that this is a much improved team from Winter. I think the addition of Upset has definitely elevated them, especially on that bot side of the map. And SK trying to answer back to this 1,000 gold deficit they are sitting in. They still have a lot of tools, of course. We talked already about Exakick. Sertuss in an okay position in this mid lane as well as he looks for a little bit onto Perkz. Petrifying Gaze does go down. Sertuss holding the charm. Dodges to the side there. Perkz ignited, but should be able to walk away from that.
Sertuss missing the charm, but that very close, or very likely could have been a kill for Sertuss. Curious as to what direction he goes with the Ahri build, whether it's more damage or utility. Notice that he is running the NCO spellbook, which is why he had that TP available. Bo now looking to threaten a dive. I did wonder if this was a possibility, but reminder that DOS doesn't have flash, but it will be up soon.
He's
the wave
almost got
is
6
stacking.
though, Betty. If he gets like 3 more minions, I think DOS is going to tick over to 6, so they need to dive before that wild growth is out. They're looking to do it. And SK will back away, respecting the fact that Bo could be here. I'm going to lose a plate for this.
Really great play from Vitality. I was looking at the minimap and I was thinking to myself, well, bot side camps are respawning for Bo. Would he threaten a dive? But I think this is one of the big things that the addition of Upset has brought to the team, where he communicates what he wants and what he can do in the position that he's in. And he was very clearly communicating with Bo here. We have a stacking wave. We need to threaten the dive. And now Bo goes for a fight with Markoon, going to force him back.
That bot lane tower on a sliver of HP ticks away in just a moment, and that will be 2 plates. Irrelevant has to flash away from Photon in the top lane, and that Sjokz is winning the matchup so far. Photon continues to show his lane dominance. Perkz and Bo stepping in here, looking to steal away this blue, and it looks like SK will give up the ghost on securing their own jungle for the moment. Vitality continuing to extend their lead. Now they bring everyone to the bot side. DOS with the Whimsy tries to give himself a little bit of movement speed, then flashes cease and desist, a possibility from Bo.
Surprised that they wanted to commit Perkz to that play as well, because now you'll have a wave that they can push in to underneath the tower, but I guess the timing ends up working out. Photon's going to secure a plate, maybe even 2, of
They're going
course.
to force him away even further, Vedi. That bot lane, like Exakick and DOS do not get an opportunity to stay in their lane. 4 members down on that bot side. Sure, Sertuss pushed in a wave in mid. Didn't even get a plate though. And Exakick and DOS, even though they got that first blood on the Zeri, are being forced behind. Perkz charmed. Petrifying Gaze was dodged there. Perhaps thought Markoon and Sertuss wanted a little bit more of the action. Exakick looking for the lightning crash, dives onto Upset. Heal comes out from Kaiser, and should be enough to walk away, but Exakick wants more of this. The wild growth being used as well. Upset flashes away. Culling for Upset, hits onto DOS. Exakick dodging to the side. The bullets raining down, but Bo is here, flashes forward, and cease and desist will lock Exakick up. Now, can you get away from this one? Whimsy, the shields, the help picks, everything keeps Exakick alive. And this is the reason you have to put this SK bot lane behind.
Wow, the ultimate from Exakick doing a lot of work there. Great awareness from Exakick. Upset just ran out of mana. There was no way for him to really fight back at the end. And fully committing into that 2 versus 2. DOS wasn't even able to use the Ignite. Had he gotten it down, they might have been able to secure a kill, but at the very least, they'll force all those summoner spells out. Of course, Upset running the cleanse, something that perhaps they were respecting. Didn't want to overcommit that summoner in this position. But it will mean that SK can get something on the cross map, secure that Herald. And this is the bot lane that we wanted to see from SK. I did mention that they didn't have the strongest start to the split.
True.
They were focused a little bit. They didn't have the best of 2v2 performances, but bouncing back here in week 2, looking a lot more confident, and that's what we love to see from this young player in Exakick. Last split, he was so excited and humbled to have the opportunity to play against Han Summer. He went on stage, absolutely demolished him, right? Like, this is how prominent he was in terms of the best of 1s at least, and then we saw some of his great potential in the best of 3s and best of 5s as well. He's a player you can believe in, and already against Upset, he's going to Toba now. Upset wants a bit of revenge.
Exakick can just dash across the wall. But for the moment, Upset just chunking him out. It's the lethality first rated Dirk we often see on the Lucian as that first buy into the Noon Quiver. Get yourself up, maybe a Gale Force here. Well, usually a Gale Force. For the moment, though, unable to find too much more in that bot side trade. Markoon's down here once again. 2 Drakes secured for Vitality. Markoon was able to pick up a Rift Herald earlier on, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they try and invest Shirley into getting more plates in the pocket of Exakick, getting him a little bit more gold. Oh, flash chase. Irrelevant doesn't have flash, remember, it doesn't have Mega Gnar. He's going to try and dodge away from this one, but Photon with a second leap strike shows Irrelevant who's boss in the top lane.
Really great stuff from Photon. Secured the blind pick, Jax. It was Irrelevant that answered with the Gnar. Wanted to have a little bit more teamfight utility, but with a few ganks from Bo in the early game, Photon has been able to run away with this matchup. Now has a healthy lead, but Markoon looking to make the cross map happen. as he hovers around this bot bush.
Obviously trickier to make a cross map happen when it's a pure 1v1 in the top lane. Bo didn't have to invest any time up there, so he can shadow. Photon's going to get his third plate in top, and you can see he's already about 1,000 gold ahead. We're having a look at this play in the top lane. Irrelevant almost survives, but the leap strike cooldown just too low for Irrelevant to get away.
Just remember that Irrelevant burnt the flash earlier when they were playing in the 1v1. And Photon was just waiting for that opportunity to punish. So the second that the E was used, he knew that he could chase Irrelevant down. Just a great understanding of the matchup. And ooh, great damage from Upset. The lethality really paying dividends there. Will force the SK bot lane back. Bo threatening a dive, but he will be spotted out in these wards. And Vitality, though, when you look at the early game advantages that they've gained, top lane 1v1, Photon continues to build leads. The bot lane 2v2 has largely gone even, but the plate advantage that Upset's been able to build, this will be another one. Along with the 2 Drakes with the Infernal Soul on the map, Vitality's early game continues to look strong.
And an often overlooked aspect of leads in the bottom lane is how much extra gold Kaiser's getting from these plates down towards the bottom lane as well. He has rushed the Imperial Mandate, already finished his Mythic before almost anyone else in the game. Like, only Perkz was ahead of him, I believe, with that VoD of Ages. Photon now has the Divine Sundra, but the Imperial Mandate alongside Lucian is just so much more damage, and it makes it so hard for DOS and Exakick to really stay in that lane and fight the 2v2. Not that it has been a 2v2 most of this game. Bot lane continues to be a key point of focus for teams all around the world.
As well, Perkz also roamed bot like 2-3 times, and he's still even ahead of Farm. Just all across the board, Vitality finding these advantages. Now, admittedly, SK not known for their early game. Oh, he doesn't know he's sitting on a ward.
Now he does, and Upset's going to make him feel the pain for it. Tidal Wave used. Flash away from DOS alongside the Wild Growth. Markoon looked for something. Photon just dived in with a leap strike, and immediately he's locked down underneath the tower. Markoon takes it. Meanwhile, Vitality, 4 members strong down towards this bottom side, will steal away the blue and get another plate for themselves. Won't be able to get 5 in this bottom lane because plates expire in now. And they should be able to take first tower of the game, though, as Upset and Kaiser will secure that one for Vitality.
Really good advantage gained for SK on the top side of the map, but the loss on the bot side is a very... Well, Vitality's going to walk away happy at the very least. The fact that Photon finally punished for his aggression is something that Markoon was able to make work for Irrelevant, but losing that bot lane tower, unlocking Upset out on the map, this is something that SK... At this point in the game, they have to be very careful, because you look at these items being completed, you look at the position that Vitality find themselves in. This is why SK likely wants to hesitate when trying to force a fight.
And Vitality will want to continue to force the fights. You can see Upset sitting very pretty at the top of the leaderboard there. Photon alongside him. Exakick, 1,000 gold behind his lane counterpart. Now Zeri, of course, scales incredibly well as the game goes on, but it's going to take a little while for SK to get in that position.
So, let's kind of look at the map state right now, because Vitality, their goal, they're doing it, but I think that they can actually play for this top tower to then push this top wave in, to then allow Photon to then actually move back down to be in a better position to contest the Drake that's spawning in about a minute's time. And just by moving into the Fog of War, look, he's already being forced off the tower, which makes it even easier for Photon to be able to secure this. And while they are losing control over the river for the time being, something that they can guarantee is Upset and Kaiser securing this mid-prio. In the bot lane, Perkz in the 1v1 matchup also knows that he can gain control. So you have these lanes where, look at Photon now, moving from the top side of the map, and SK doing the smart thing here, grouping up with numbers to try and punish Perkz as he's trying to push, so that at the very least SK have a way into the river. But now you can see, even though SK were first to the objective, even though they set up all that vision, Vitality with a great awareness by saying, by pushing top in and bringing Photon down, we can create the numbers advantage, and that can give us the ability to force our way into the river.
We'll see if SK decide they want to fight this. Third Drake, often a key point of contest for our teams. You don't want to get the opposition on Soul. Markoon used the decoy just to dash away from Bo. Irrelevant building up the Mega Gnar here, though, and Vitality could be in a bit of a sticky situation. Irrelevant, though, is on a control ward. Photon's going to chase him out, lands the stun, and Irrelevant already down to half HP. Turns it around onto Photon. There's the wall up into the Gnar, into the wall, and there's Photon! Absolutely atomized! And the Dragon should be forfeit for SK. Bo dashing in, Upset doing the same, but the heal and the flash for Irrelevant will keep him safe.
Really good response once again from SK. Bo looking for the steal.
You can just steal it. You can just walk in. The Cyclone going down. Bo's still very healthy. Flashes away as Exakick was coming in from the flank. The Bo breaker back in, and Bo gets it. Goes in with a cease and desist. Stops his own life. but still secures the dragon for SK and after for Vitality. And after SK found the pick, you thought it was all done. They would get that dragon, but once again, Vitality's tenacity just too difficult to handle.
The bright side for SK is they were able to pick up a number of kills. They've been able to close the goal gap ever so slightly, but that win condition of the Infernal Soul is now something that SK have to worry about, because the next one's going to spawn when Baron is up, and the amount of control that Vitality is going to have over those two objectives is going to be lethal.
And the issue is you don't just have to worry about it in 5 minutes. Because if you secured that Drake, you then have to worry about it in 10 minutes, and then in 15 minutes, and then in 20 minutes. Even if you are able to control the entire map, Sjokz just, he just gets slapped. Imagine if he had a real weapon. Photon going for a little bit more though. Markoon's on the way, and now the TP coming in. Photon does still have the flash, lands the Counter-Strike stun, and then dashes and jumps away. And you just can't lock him down. TP's down to the bot lane now. Got the TP out of Sertuss, and with the wave pushing in, he should be able to take this tower.
That's brilliant, because now there's no one to actually answer him. He's got a wave right behind him. He should be able to secure this objective. Now they're threatening mid. No ultimate available for Bo, though, so they're not going to threaten the dive onto Exakick, but just... I thought it was over-aggressive from Photon. He's played super aggressive this whole game. That mid-dive was inherently his mistake. You could understand the idea. Chunk Irrelevant out and then disengage, but Irrelevant very quick to punish him. With Exakick there, allows them to actually get that kill. They're not actually going to commit to the tower. I think that's fine. Sertuss looking for the dive.
Gets the charm, but only lands onto one. The season assist brings him back, and Bo just slaps him. Another kill over to Vitality, and everything that SK look to do, every proactive move, is met with the fist of Vitality.
You can see the idea there from Sertuss. The charm was just slightly short, but even if he did land it, Upset still has the cleanse, Upset still has the flash, and he was not expecting Bo to be over the wall. The chain CC was ruthless, meaning that Sertuss hands over another kill.
We'd have to have a look back at it, but I think Kaiser actually steps in front of Upset to tank the charm there. Either it wasn't gonna hit Upset, and Kaiser stepped into it, or it was, and Kaiser did a good little bit of supporting to make sure that he was the one that ate the REE. But for the moment, Vitality well in control of the game, Vedi. 3,000 gold ahead. Next Drake up in 2.5 minutes as well. And SK were able to find a few picks, a few catches in the mid game, but not able to get too much more. Miasma going down. Shook later from Exakick as well. The Petrifying Gaze lands. Perkz, though, still low to the Cyclone. And the Crushing Blow enough to end his life. But Charm, Kaiser flashes it. Irrelevant still looking for a little bit more. Bo channeling up the Vault Breaker. 5 members strong. SK able to find another pick in the mid lane. So
I will say we're seeing a lot of individual mistakes from Vitality right now. I think that they feel that they're in a really strong position and they are getting punished well by SK. Markoon, just great awareness to recognize you're not allowed to do this, Perkz. You can't just clear a ward in my face. I'm a Wukong, and Exakick is right behind me. Did, of course, cost him his flash, but still, flash for flash, mid for AD carry. Vitality now working on this mid tower.
Look at the damage down onto Markoon as well. Upset with this rapid fire cannon, Gale Force and Lethality alongside the Pocket Nami and that Imperial Mandate, which has already done an extra 1,200 damage. It's a pretty deadly combination here from Vitality. And we asked at the start of the game whether they could step up against teams that had placed above 4th last season. Well, they're doing exactly that today. A date with destiny, it feels, against G2 tomorrow to see who is the top team in our league. Of course, Vitality still have to finish out this game, and we're getting to the point of a match where SK tend to thrive. Mid-game team fights is where they shine the brightest.
Well, I will say, KDA's ruined this game. I mean, a lot of people
Upset's only died once.
True.
So his KDA is still 47.
47.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's decent.
Yeah, it's middling,
okay.
You know?
Yeah, it's okay. We'll see if he can improve it. Of course, now that he actually has a number, not being infinite, it's only up from here, unless he dies. In which case, it's down pretty significantly. Now, we talked about this earlier, the Dragon v Baron debate. Cassio can two-man the Baron. Vi plus Cassio, as long as she has a blue buff, maybe she doesn't even need a blue buff, she's got a full mana bar, she can secure that. The TP fight coming in.
Sertuss has no flash. Colin coming in from Upset as well. Doss already down to half HP. He's going to flash away. Counter-Strike lands onto Sertuss. Still another Spirit Rush, but he brings the Cease and Desist all the way back. The Everfrost, though, might be enough to delay the inevitable, but in the end, it seems the inevitable will not be stopped. It's in the name as one falls. Irrelevant with a Gnar into the wall. Perkz getting chipped away by Exakick. Another answering kill, perhaps, but Perkz slithers away on a seldom amount of HP. Less than 100, it seems, down to 40 or so. And once again, Vitality able to find a pick and get the hell out.
Well, I wonder if SK are going to trade for a potential I was going to say Baron threat, but it looks like they're just going to secure the mid tower with no jungler. They don't want to take the gamble. And with 5 members alive for Vitality, it's a loss that they're just going to have to accept. The fight looked like a bit of an overcommitment for Vitality. Really good charm initially by Sertuss. The TP flank comes in, the damage on the DOS is massive. Photon doesn't want to overcommit at this point, but then it's this dash away by Sertuss, and Perkz trying to come in to cut them off. But look at how he gets locked up here. Really good charm from Sertuss, kind of forces Perkz into this awkward situation. They still get that kill onto Markoon as Exakick and DOS can't really follow up due to the presence of Perkz. But then Irrelevant joins the fight and you're thinking, oh, this could be dangerous. Only focuses attention on the Perkz, so a single hit would have been enough, but they didn't want to overcommit into that narrow choke point.
Just too much HP on the Cassio. Shed his skin and walked out of that. Infernal Soul now complete for Vitality. Obviously only going to help with their burst damage. Upset already dishing out quite a bit of DPS. We'll have a look to see. Oh, well, we won't, because the Match of the Week graphic came up as I brought up a separate graphic, so I'll take that one down or bring it up after this graphic happens. But perhaps that is the Match of the Week. We've had enough weeks with an A recently that a week with an E seems to be in order. And that G2 Vitality game, definitely one to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, the gold has been pretty close, but it does feel like the Vitality have continued to just dominate in the early game. And outside of a couple of individual mistakes that we've been seeing from Vitality, I think by and large, this has been Vitality's game. Upset looking to go for another trade against Exakick, but he will just dash away to safety. And note, the Upset basically hasn't been pushed past that line. Outside of the times where SK was threatening that mid-tier 1, he has been in control of that mid wave, and he has kept it pushed to allow his side laners to keep the pressure on, and that bot lane tower is sure to fall very soon. Photon catching the wave in the top lane, no TP as of yet. Perkz does have his available, but that's largely why he's sitting in the bot lane for now, as we expect the Baron to be the next big point of contention.
You can see one of the issues with Ahri as well, into the Cassio there. The charm goes out, the Everfrost, the Orb of Deception all connect, and Cassio just walks away, still only taking about 10% HP. Obviously, Perkz already at 3 items with the Rod of Aegis, Seraphs, and that Rylai's complete. He is incredibly strong, but the team does struggle for damage on SK if they can't find a pick, if they can't just burst one player down. And Sertuss isolated alone down towards that bottom lane, still on the search for his second item. Irrelevant, gonna be able to lollop his way away from the top lane. Like a crawl, I guess, on the Gnar, but Mini Gnar about to come off, and that Rage Bar nowhere near stacked, of course. It takes a little bit of time to rebuild it after you fall out of that Mega Gnar. Sertuss does have TP here. Perkz shadowing, acting a little bit as a bouncer as Bo dives in once again, but Vitality is just trying to make sure there's no vision around this area. Deny any ability for SK to really be aware of what's happening. TP coming in now by Sertuss, very defensive, just wants to join up with his team in case Vitality had started this Baron. They haven't yet. DOS, no flash. There's the cease and desist going in from Bo and DOS, the wild growth as well. Bo very deep here, already killed off DOS, and Bo is still half HP. He was in the midst of all of SK, but SK just don't have the DPS to chunk out the Vi.
It's still only a single pick though, and with Markoon still alive, there is a possibility.
Another, he's on a ward, you're on a ward, you're on a ward! Irrelevant has to jump and dash away. Does still have the TP to come back in, but Photon might not be done yet. The charm goes in. Irrelevant with the wallop as well. Photon gnarred into the wall and a little bit too deep from the Vitality top lane.
Once again, we see Photon overcommit for a kill. That's 40 seconds now, and DOS is back alive. Vitality doing what they can to secure vision around this objective, and it won't be easy for SK to walk in, but that Baron pressure will now disappear as Photon makes that crucial mistake. And again, we've seen this a couple times from Photon this game, just that bit of overcommitment. Vitality, sometimes in these fights they go a little too deep, and this looked like one of those situations. Difficult to follow up. Perkz tries to Photon the TP as well, but Bo gets that solo kill effectively. And there's nothing that SK can do to stop him. And now Vitality's thinking about that Baron. They're asking themselves, how do we secure this objective? How can we force Markoon to face checkers? And Photon, after seeing Irrelevant being so low HP, thinks that he can commit to finding that pick. He thinks he can catch him off guard, but Sertuss spots him, roots him up, chain CC from Irrelevant, so they're able to secure the kill.
Good fast light alteration as well to spot out the fact that Irrelevant was backing in that bush. And Vitality once again start up the dance. They're ready to tango around this Baron buff. Still 3,000 gold in the lead. Exakick at 2 items now. Wasn't really able to be involved in that last fight. Perkz already level 16 ready highest in the game, 2 levels ahead of his counterpart. Now looking for a bit more. Markoon pops the decoy to get away from the constant battery that is Bo on this VIT. Consistently finding his mark. DOS has the wild growth. All flashes up for SK. The same on the side of Vitality, and Sertuss down to half HP already, Vedi.
Upset, very good damage from the Lucian. Has to be careful. I say that, it seems that SK have to be careful of the damage from Upset. The Baron is being started off, Perkz and Bo. We talked about the 2-man earlier. Upset on guard duty, but this will be spotted out. Markoon now trying to get as close as possible, but look at all the control wards. SK trying to force their way into the river as 5, and Bo will back off the Baron.
Old Shook Laser helping out a little bit there for SK. Irrelevant goes into the Mega Gnar form, has that flash. So many fights, so many games have been won for SK off the back of Irrelevant finding a 4-man, a 5-man Gnar. This game being slim pickings for the Dinosaur. Bo burns flash.
That was a misclick. He even emotes.
It's a very angry monkey.
That could hurt Vitality. Bo's locked down.
It's Elder as well.
Oh wait, Elder is just up. I've completely ignored the fact that this was spawning right now. Vitality have full control over the river.
No Aqua Prism as well. You've got a window here, SK, if you want to go in. 10,000 HP on it. TP's coming in, but a little bit late. Vitality turn off the Elder for a second. The miasma from Perkz, the Petrifying Gaze. They're going to try and burst it down. Irrelevant trying to get in here as well. Markoon goes onto Perkz. Lightning Crash going down as well. The Elder's secured for Vitality, and Markoon's already low, and he will die to the space lasers. Next up, Irrelevant. Sertuss trying to do what he can across the wall, but Vitality, the unstoppable force, continues to charge forward. Exakick can do nothing in the face of Vitality.
It all came down to a smite fight, and Markoon was so close, but Bo for Vitality secures the objective, and Vitality clean up the fight.
Charm.
The Fnatic brush. Oh, the charm misses. Upset will not lose his life once again, and he will secure the tower. Now the pressure is really on. Photon top lane. Bo and Perkz making their way back towards the Baron. That's all they really need, and the bot lane being pressured as well.
And just like that, the game swings entirely out of control for SK. 8,000 gold, the lead going to be extended with this Baron. They weren't even able to find a single member of Vitality. You can see Exakick trying his little heart out there. 5,200 damage, but it was just so difficult. The miasma blocked off any entryway. And there's Cassiopeia doing so much work. Look at how much Perkz does to keep SK away.
You hit the nail on the head, Bennett. Really, he's just zoning the backline. So much damage initially done to Markoon, but look how close it is. Ults and Sertuss providing the assistance, and flashes in. It's below 1,200.
Just a smite fight.
It really is. Actually, it says that the smite from Wukong is on cooldown. I wonder if he used it early. I need to have to go back and watch. I wasn't able to catch that live, unfortunately, but it ended up being much closer than I think Vitality wanted it to. Props to Markoon getting as close as he did. And Sertuss immediately, notice how when Markoon went in, the knockup came through, Sertuss dived in with him. Immediately put his attention onto Perkz, trying to lock down the mid laner. Wasn't quite enough though. SK falls short in the fight, and now they have to stand strong against a Baroned up Elder Dragon Vitality that's looking to end the game.
The only good news for them, oh, Sertuss is gonna die. That's not good news at all. The tidal wave might even claim it. Sertuss, the wild growth, enough to get him over that execution threshold, but with 25 seconds left on the Elder, Vitality may just look to barrel down mid lane. 18 on it, 15, it's ticking away, but SK need to delay as much as they can. 10 seconds left, Bo goes in, they're looking to at least take out one. If I don't know what it falls, so does the Nexus Tower. Vitality have 6 seconds left, and they get everything they wanted out of that push, apart from the Nexus itself. Elder falls off, but now it's a 5v4 in favor of Vitality, looking to continue their undefeated streak. With Upset at the helm, it seems like they can do no wrong. And Markoon feels the full brunt of the fist of Vitality as they go 4-0.
Definitely a couple of individual mistakes from the side of Vitality. We saw Photon being a little over aggressive. We saw the same thing from Perkz. And I think that that Elder was a little closer than it should have been. I did get word from production that the smite actually went down onto the Cassio, so I did end up missing that during the fight. So perhaps not as close as I initially expected it to be, but still overall, Vitality, they keep their undefeated ways. They remain undefeated going up against G2 tomorrow.
The only undefeated team now.
Yeah.
Our Vitality.
Solely in position of first place. And again, I think that those questions, I think, still exist. I think that people, while can be a lot more confident about Vitality, and there's a lot to be confident about, their bot lane continues to look incredible. Bo still continues to find a lot of great things on the map. Photon in the isolated 1v1 continues to look like by far and away the best top laner that we have in the league. And then Perkz, this man just Mr. Consistent, right? It's just some of those individual errors we are seeing every now and then. And some of those objective setups do bring into question, and some of their overforce of fights are something that we'll keep track of Vitality moving forward, but you'd hope that Vitality will continue to grow from here. And hopefully, as we move forward, especially them against G2, it's going to be an exciting one to watch.
And of course, for SK, a bit of a struggle of a game. I think there was an obvious game plan from Vitality to put Exakick behind in the early game, and even though Exakick was able to be in an okay position coming into mid game, he was always about an item behind. Photon obviously dominating the top lane made it very difficult for Irrelevant to have too much of an impact in the fights. And that Cassio pick, I've got to give credit to it as well. Miasma really stopped SK from being able to actually get onto the backline. You can't dash over it, you can't dash through it. It becomes very tricky for you to actually find those engages in fights.
I think what was uncharacteristic for SK is they never started the fights on their terms. You know, while we did see a couple picks every now and then, we saw them trading back and forth with Vitality and them punishing Vitality's aggression. Never did we really get to see Vitality, the ones in the driver's seat, actually, the SK rather, in the driver's seat and actually starting the fights that they want to start. And I think that that's very uncharacteristic for this team, especially when we think back to all of their comeback wins. It was through their great team fighting that Vitality largely shut down.
Well, I agree with you, Vedi. I agree with you. So I had Depper in my ear talking to me during that, so I don't actually know what you said, but I know
Cool stuff,
I trust
really
you.
Smart stuff, yeah.
So I agree with you. Your player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter are Photon, Perkz, and Upset. I think, like the thing is, I think Photon had the most obvious individual plays, but Perkz did a really good job in team fights, and Upset obviously had a lot of damage, and that bot lane was really good. So it's a bit of a toss-up for me, that one.
I mean, it was also one of those things for me where I sat there and think like Bo securing every objective with the smites.
His engage was the reason a lot of the time they were able to find those initial
really
picks.
Great game as well.
And Kaiser did really well as well on the Nami. It's a little
tough
difficult to be.
It was a very team game for sure. Yeah. I think individually everyone had their highs and their lows for sure. And I think that you can vote for really whoever you want.
You can.
Like
Oda
you don't vote for Oda-Wamne.
I mean, you can.
No.
All right. Well, anyway, Sjokz, take it away.
Thank you. No, you can only vote for the people in the Vedius. Anyways, we've got Kaiser here. Congrats.
Thank you.
In the mic. That's good. It's always nice. You don't have to, you know, you're your own boss, but then people can hear you. You were just saying how you're really happy that you got specifically to win versus SK.
Yeah, we kind of had a lot of trouble against SK in the winter season because like we lost the best of 3, right? And they, I think, kind of stumped us in the best of 1 as well. So it feels kind of nice to have like the assurance that we got better. And yeah.
So what was different?
Well, I mean,
Upset?
I mean, in a way, maybe, but I think we all played just way better together right now. Like, I feel like, for example, Photon got a solo kill as well, right? We played better around objectives, even though I don't think it was that clean, you know? I think we had some hectic calls as well, I would say. Like, I think the comps were a bit too hectic, I would say. But in general, I think like our laning phases were better, and like how we played around vision and stuff like this was also better.
Yeah, it looked like you guys had kind of the game in your control. I mean, it sucks when the game goes to an elder flip, right? When you're winning, it feels like, man, you don't want to lose that way. Markoon apparently smited Perkz in that fight, so it was a nice secure there by Bo. But yeah, obviously it feels good to win after that, and you guys were in control of the entire game, so I think it's justified.
It is. Let's take a look at a couple of moments from the game. I want to look at the level 1 into the dives of the early game and talk to me through first this one.
I mean, so we kind of want to go bot lane because it's a range matchup, and range matchup really wants to control second push because we want to get pushed into Zeri Lulu, right? I mean, they did a good job because they kind of expected that, right? But we knew that we were strong at level 1, so we kind of just wanted to fight. And even though it was a 1-for-1, I think it was okay. Like, I got my mandate really fast because of that kill. Like, we actually said in comments it's actually good for us that Nami gets a kill over Zeri because mandate is so important, right? And yeah, I think we kind of sobered well from that, and yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, I said that as well on the backstage. I think you guys are really happy with this, getting both sums from Zeri, and you getting a faster mandate basically just makes Lucian stronger. So it was kind of a win-win, even though it looked like Zeri was stronger, but she doesn't really come online until later anyway. So I agree with you that it was a good level 1 for you guys and ended up in your favor.
Yeah. Everyone agreed. It was good. And obviously you won. But as you said sometimes maybe not too happy with the... Do you mean the calling specifically in the team fights around the objectives, or the setting up for the team fights, or for the objectives rather?
I mean, at some point it was pretty hard for us to like make a decision, because we knew that we didn't want both Elder and Baron on the map, because then they could maybe like look for a trade, or it gets harder for us, right? So you kind of wanted to rush Nash, but I think on blue side it's very hard because they're the Wukong, right? And it's really hard to stop a Wukong from stealing Nash, because he can have so many angles from where he can W over the wall, right? Or it's really hard to deny vision from them as well. Sometimes I think we played a bit too aggressive. I think we had a kill in their topside jungle, and then Photon went a bit too deep, you know? I think we could have played it a bit cleaner, but in general, yeah, I think also our calls in comms they were a bit hectic, right? Because we were like a bit panicky, I guess, because we wanted to make the decisions fast. I think we have to clean that up for sure for the next couple of games, but I think how we played was good as well.
Oh yeah, let's take a look at the Drake fight as well. It was the first Elder, by the way, in Spring. It's crazy. And as Treatz says, you don't want to let it come to this. And we should see if we see where Markoon goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think also here you guys were probably called to end when Markoon got stunned over the wall, I would assume. But then he still had a chance to get in. But obviously he just missed his smite and didn't have it, and Bo just got it. So pretty good for you guys. How did you?
Wait,
how confident?
Perkz was to the right? How did this happen?
Yeah, this was a messy one for sure.
It was a messy one for sure. Yeah.
I mean, did you guys feel confident going into this fight, or were you just like, we just have to get this Elder ASAP kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, Bo is always really confident in his 50 smites, that's for sure. So
that's good.
We were kind of confident about that. In general, I think our comp was also like pretty decent. Like we would know that they would have to get really chunked before they even approach the Elder, right? Even though they have like a lot of champions that can jump through walls, right? Like for example, Ahri, Gnar, Zeri. Only Lulu can't really jump, right? We kind of have like this Cassiopeia, the Nami ult, to kind of zone them and force them into a bad position, I would say. So I think, like, sure, the Elder kind of sealed the deal, right? But maybe we could have won, even if we didn't win the flip.
Yeah.
You're right about the confidence. I wanted to show you a graphic that we ran before this, which is forward percentage, so the amount of times that you in lane spend across the halfway mark. So basically how aggressive you are in lane. Look at this! The difference of how much forward percentage in bot lane versus SK. Is this something you're aware of? I mean, obviously it's the way you play, but if you see it in numbers, the difference is so high.
I mean, we were memeing about it a bit, because I think this is very skewed from like draft. Like for example, if you're playing Zeri Ashe into Zarakan, maybe you should be pushing early game, right? Or I think we played one game of Caitlyn Heimerdinger, sorry.
Yep.
And I think then you should really have the forward percentage that matches those picks. And of course we are playing well, right? I think we probably have more than we should have, because I think, for example, in the Zarakan game, we kind of won lane even though we shouldn't, right? And yeah, in general, I think stats don't lie, but they also like don't tell the whole story, I would say. So we're playing well, but of course the picks matter.
The truth, the stats, and then the... Wait, I said that wrong. Never mind. Go ahead.
I mean, I think in general as well, I think the impressive thing for me is that every lane has like that, because if you can excuse it for example, bot lane, right? Saying you're playing Caitlyn Heimerdinger, but if every lane has the same impressive stat, it's kind of like, you guys are just playing forward a lot in the game.
That's true, that's true.
And if you're winning, you keep playing more forward and you win faster. So I think that was what really stood out for me in that stat.
Indeed. Tomorrow, match of the week, Vitality G2. Oof, we're excited. Are you excited?
I mean, of course, it's always exciting to play the best teams, and I think G2 has shown like time and time again that they're the best team in Europe, or like one of the best, right? And it's for sure exciting. I think we have a good chance, a good shot at them, because we are playing pretty good League of Legends right now, and of course they are as well. Like sometimes they are a bit experimental in drafts. It's going to be exciting what they pick, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a hype matchup, and especially now with upset, I think the bot lane is going to be a danger zone. I think both junglers are going to look there for sure, and I think whoever wins bot will win the game, to be honest. So, yeah, we'll have to see.
You have your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kaiser. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
4-0 for Vitality. Extremely impressive. We're going to take a quick break, and you're going to take a look at your opponents for tomorrow, because G2 is playing Koi for the last game of the day. See you soon.
Oh, wait, say something. Say something.
Yeah.
I can't hear.
I can't hear him as well.
I need to offset 10% higher.
I'm
not speaking, bro.
Kaiser, okay, something?
Kaiser?
Hey! Okay, I will do like this.
Him a little bit more gold. Oh, flash chase. Irrelevant doesn't have flash, remember, it doesn't have Mega Gnar. He's going to try and dodge away from this one, but Photon with a second lead strike. Sticky situation. Irrelevant though, it's on a control ward. Photon's going to chase him out, lands the stun, and Irrelevant already down to half HP. Turns it around onto Photon, there's the wall up into the Gnar, into the wall, and there's Photon! Absolutely atomized! And Markoon feels the full brunt of the fist of Vitality as they go 4-0.
Red Bull gives you wings.